A very warm welcome to everybody who's joined the webinar today. I am Manoj Kulwal. I'm Chief Risk and AI Officer at Risk Spotlight, and today we're talking about AI governance and risk management. So, just to introduce myself, like I said, I'm Chief Risk and AI Officer at Risk Spotlight. Very passionate about utilizing risk management as a strategic management tool. Been in operational risk management space for 20 years, and at the moment, very interested in how generative AI technology can transform operational risk management and non-financial risk management discipline in general. So that sort of is a very deep area of interest, both from a research and practical perspective. And I will be hosting the session today. And our main presentation is Michael Rasmussen, who many of you may already be aware is an internationally recognized thought leader and pioneer. He's also widely known as the father of GRC because he was the first expert to define the GRC market in Feb 2002 when he was with Forrester. So he's got extensive experience. And of course, with AI being one of the transformative technology, he's also been doing space and will get to benefit from his wisdom and his experience on that topic today. So the agenda today is, of course, we're going to talk about governance and risk management, a very intermingled topic, but those are sort of the two focus areas. We'll do that for the first 40 minutes or so, and then we'll leave the last 15, 20 minutes for Q&A. So please type your questions in the chat session, and then I'll pick up those questions, and then we'll do a Q&A with Michael at the end. You will, of course, receive the slides and the recordings of the session. So in case you need to review those or share that with your team, then you will get that via email in the next 24 to 48 hours. Before I hand over to Michael, just want to make you aware of the AI practice we have at Risk Spotlight, where we are providing mentoring services. So we basically act as AI mentors to the second line risk teams in terms of raising awareness about generative AI within the organization. And then that awareness is both in terms of the opportunities of generative AI, but also the risks associated with generative AI. So the slide here highlights the various types of initiatives where we provide mentoring to the second line risk team. So if this was of interest to you, then please let me know. There is an email address at the end of the presentation where you can contact us. And I just want to make you aware of the first Microsoft Copilot course we have created for risk and compliance professionals. So this is happening on 25th and 26th February. So out of all the different generative AI tools, Microsoft Copilot is what 90% or more of the financial services firms are now starting to roll out to their employees. And then the risk and compliance teams are also starting to get access to this tool. So we see that in 2025, there will be a huge need for training because these generative AI tools are very powerful, and you need to know how to work and interact with these tools if you want high quality output from these particular tools. And that's what this particular course will cover, where it'll cover risk and compliance use cases on how do you identify risk, write your scenarios, do your control testing, so that you and your team members who are involved in those type of activities can learn how to interact and get high quality output from those tools. So there are details available on riskspotlight.com/copilotfeb25. So that's the link in case you are interested in attending this course and learning more about this course. So with that, let me hand over to Michael to take us through the topic today. So Michael, I'll stop sharing and I'll let you share and present.
Excellent. So, wow, why don't we begin here and go on to the next first slide? To be or not to be. I feel like I'm in Hamlet. Do we use risk AI or do we not use AI? To me, it's not a binary decision. And and in that context, what level do we use AI? How do we use it? Every organization is an organization of risk. U.S. President Teddy Roosevelt said, "Risk is like fire. If controlled, it will help you. If uncontrolled, it will rise up and destroy you." John Paul Jones, a famous U.S. Revolutionary War naval hero, He said, what did he say? He said, "It is a law of nature, inflexible and inexorable, that those who do not risk do not win." And then, Judge Mervyn Keane from South Africa, he stated, "Enterprise is the undertaking of risk for reward." But my most favorite is Captain James T. Kirk of the Starship Enterprise, season 2, episode 20 of the original series. He's got that executive committee with Spock and Scotty and McCoy, and they're making a decision: do they go on this mission? And just like many of you will have that executive committee, do we go on this AI mission? How do we use AI? And Captain Kirk gets up, says, risk is our business. That's what this starship is all about. That's why we are aboard her. Every business is a starship of risk. Every financial services organization is a starship of risk. This decision on AI isn't the first time banks and others have had to deal with this. 15, 20 years ago was mobile banking. Do we do mobile banking or do we not do mobile banking? We're constantly barraged with new technologies that innovate and completely re-engage how we do business and how we work. And organizations, financial services organizations, need to understand risk is part of business. We take risks, and there's a return on proper risk taking. And the same thing needs to happen with this whole context of artificial intelligence. How do we take the right risks? What risks are out there? But on the next slide, the challenges are that the modern financial services organization is navigating chaos. There's lots of changing regulations, like the EU AI Act, for one, that's just recently come into enforcement. But you've got a lot going on and shifting positions in the United States and the UK and other areas. But we've got a lot of laws and regulations as well that AI can help us manage as well. Global financial services firms, according to Thomson Reuters Regulatory Intelligence, now part of Cube, are dealing with over 250 regulatory change events every business day, coming from about 1,300 regulators around the world. How do we leverage AI to digest that and be able to go through all those regulatory change? It tells us how they impact the business. There's an external risk environment where foreign exchange and currency risks and commodity pricing and availability and geopolitical risks and sanctions and all this stuff impact the financial services organization. But the internal business itself is changing. Processes, employees, technology, and third-party relationships, and how are they using AI? We have to keep all this change in sync. The modern organization is navigating chaos. The physicist Fritjof Capra stated, "The more we study the major problems of our time, the more we come to realize that that these problems cannot be understood in isolation. They are interconnected. They are independent. They're systemic." I'm sort of paraphrasing there. The physicist was talking about biological ecosystems. We might as well be talking about risk in the modern financial services organization, but particularly this AI risk. And we have to keep all this risk in sync. And AI is critical to this. What does AI deliver as far as value? Well, let's go to the next slide where there's a quote from Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill said, "The true genius resides in the capacity for evaluation of uncertain, hazardous, and conflicting information." That's one of the beauties of AI and like Risk Spotlight's courses on Microsoft Copilot 365 and others. How do we leverage AI, generative AI technologies, other AI technologies, to go through all these different types of risk information, regulatory information, and help us sort through this and make sense of it? AI in the hands of a novice can be dangerous. AI in the hands of a lazy subject matter expert, to me, can be dangerous. But AI in the hands of a skilled subject matter expert that is going to provide some insight and guidance and knows how to use these tools, of all the more reason for training, like Risk Spotlight's Copilot course. That is extremely powerful, exponentially powerful. I don't know of any financial services organization with risk, compliance, internal control teams that are sitting saying, we've got nothing to do. No, the reality is we can't get enough done. And AI helps extend us and gets more done in the organization. On the next slide, I go into this and how AI can provide that Palantir. I'm a big Tolkien fan. In fact, I mean, you can't quite see it behind me, but I have a whole bookshelf just filled with Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, and Middle Earth related books. AI can provide that Palantir, that crystal ball, to be able to help us understand what's coming at that horizon scanning, the here and now, the horizon scanning of risk, the horizon scanning of regulations, the here and now, how's this going to impact, the scenario plane, and go forth and help us make strategic risk decisions for the business. AI can be that Palantir, but that Palantir needs that person that can use the Palantir properly. The somebody that is weak-minded using the Palantir and Tolkien can be harmed by the Palantir and other people using that. But in the hands of the skilled wizard, the risk wizard, that Palantir becomes extremely powerful. Be able to provide foresight and insight. And how do we leverage this? How do we manage this properly in the organization? So, in the next slide, we're in the midst of a lot of change. We're innovating and re architecting GRC with artificial intelligence. There's a quote that I love from, it's been attributed to both Einstein and Schumacher. So I don't know who originally said it, but it's a great quote, no matter who originally said it. He said, "Any intelligent fool can make things bigger, more complex, and more violent. It takes a touch of genius and a lot of courage to move in the opposite direction." Right now, a lot of risk management processes are becoming very, and compliance processes as well, and financial services are becoming very complex in things, and a lot of checks and balances. I remember one UK bank telling me that they had a policy that got updated because of regulatory change that went through 75 reviewers and document check-in, check-out fashion, took 6 months to get updated. I mean, we can't be having that type of processes. We need highly intelligent processes where that AI can help us update that policy, even draft the changes for us. But again, we just don't hit the check button and say, okay, go for it. We review it as subject matter experts and move forward with it. Worked on the enterprise risk RFP for a global firm out of Germany several years ago. And then after they were done with their enterprise risk RFP implementation, they wanted to move into leveraging artificial intelligence for internal control management. And this is before the Chat GPT boom. And so, so they couldn't find anything on the market. Now there's a lot of solutions on the market, but they wanted to leverage, the natural language processing and generative AI together to be able to read in all the risk information, the regulatory information, and the control information, and frameworks, and be able to write the control narratives and descriptions. You use generative AI to write that. But then that goes into subject matter expert review, because whatever generative AI comes out with, it needs proper application to the business and editing and things like that. But once that's finalized, leverage, natural language processing, be able to read that final control narrative and description, and then work in robotic process automation, because that control narrative and description tells us who does the control testing, when do they do the testing, how do they test, and all that can be built out into workflow and automation in the organization. At the time when they were looking at this, nothing was available in the market. Now there's lots of solutions available in the market. We're innovating and re-architecting. How do we use artificial intelligence to extend and automate and provide more value to make risk management more efficient, effective, resilient, and agile in the organization? But, on the next slide, it's important that we also understand, how do we govern AI? There's the proper use of AI. And now financial services organizations are more mature at this than other industries, because we've had model risk management for, gosh, probably going on 2 decades or more. I mean, definitely more in some areas like credit and market risk and things like that. We've had model risk management, and particularly regulations in model risk management, for I think 2012. There's been a lot more oversight on model risk management, both the UK and the US and the EU. And now we're applying a lot of the lessons we've learned on model risk management to AI model risk management as well. And so let's dive into this. And on the next slide, I've got some of the challenges as well as opportunities that AI can leverage and provide to the organization. Um, just a second here. Okay. I lost track of my screen there for a second. And so AI offers numerous opportunities for organizations. It's not without its risks, though, and its challenges. We need to recognize and address the challenges to be able to successfully integrate and deliver responsible use of AI in financial services. Some of these challenges, like in the slide before you, is that AI is powerful. Artificial intelligence can impact significant change with minimal effort. While this is a major strength, it can also mean a little AI use by an unskilled worker could result in a profoundly negative outcome. Financial services organizations must be wise to adopt a first do no harm approach when adopting AI. AI is powerful, but AI is also complex. one of the primary challenges in using artificial intelligence is the complexity of its implementation. Effective AI integration requires substantial investment in technology, skilled labor, and time. Organizations need experts capable of governing, developing, maintaining, and managing AI systems internally, which often leads to costly upskilling or recruitment of new resources. Additionally, you have compatibility with existing systems and workflows must be considered that often require a complete overhaul of current practices. Okay, now I'm going to contradict myself because I just said AI is complex, and we all know chat GPTs out there and how easy it is to use. So AI is also simple. It has simplicity. So it's sort of an oxymoron here. Complexity is certainly a challenge, but the recent AI gold rush the last couple of years has the opposite concern of simplicity. The necessity for the organization to have data scientists, and advanced technology infrastructure, and sizable ongoing support costs all served as a check to keep many companies from running amok with AI. Or with generative AI, particularly, however, that bar is removed. Anyone can leverage these technologies with limited resources and no training or consideration of the consequences. Essentially, the brakes have been removed while traveling at a high speed. All the more reason to look for training courses like Risk Spotlight's Microsoft Copilot course. AI provides great productivity. For many cases of AI use, there are productivity enhancements that can be achieved as well. And so we need to be able to look towards that. But there's also concerns like data privacy. Data privacy is another critical concern with AI usage. AI systems are data hungry, needing vast quantities of data for training and operations. This dependence raises significant issues regarding data security, user privacy, and compliance with regulations such as EU GDPR and others. So breaches can lead to severe reputational financial damage. We also have the challenge and concern about bias, where bias can be an inherent problem in AI systems that poses significant ethical and practical concerns. If our data that we're using for training is biased, the AI system can amplify and reproduce these biases, leading to unfair outcomes. And then you have the opaqueness of AI, where AI can be seen as a black box, and this lack of transparency can be problematic, especially in sensitive areas such as financial services, where understanding the rationale behind decisions is crucial. And then we have this growing complexity of legal liability, where AI systems also present a potential liability issue that the courts themselves have not always worked out completely. So let's move on to the next slide. We have growing regulatory concern as well, where we have navigating the regulatory landscape requires staying updated on laws, particularly where the one that's on everybody's burner right now is the EU AI Act, which mandates transparency and accountability in artificial intelligence. There's sector level regulations, such as in the United States, you have the National Association of Insurance Commissioners with their AI model audit rule, which I'm seeing a lot of insurance organizations in the US look for AI governance, or what I call AI GRC technologies, to help govern and manage the risk of AI within organizations around leveraging the model risk management. And this is all part of the NAIC model audit rule, or AI model audit rule. And so strategies in this area include regular audits, updating privacy policies. I say privacy because I know we have a large UK audience. Here in the US, it's privacy, and ensuring data processing activities meet legal standards as well. So now let's dive into this a little bit further. So some of the top 10 challenges that companies face: data privacy or privacy, as I mentioned, bias and discrimination, regulatory compliance to the EU AI Act and other laws and regulations, which seem to be too numerous to list right now, legal liability uncertainty, because a lot of this hasn't been fully played out in the courts yet, inconsistent AI documentation and how it's been developed and appropriate use, the third party usage of AI. How are our outsourcers and service providers using AI to deliver good services for the financial services organization? Lack of standardization in AI development and testing and control. And with that lack of control, automation enforcement. You have model misuse as well as shadow AI. We've talked about shadow IT, where any employee can pretty much go out and use some type of software as a service solution for the business. Now we have shadow AI, where what's going to prevent that employee to go out to chat GPT or some other thing and leverage that? And with that, inexperienced staff. Addressing these challenges, financial services organizations need to transition to an integrated AI GRC strategy, a strategy with defined processes and an information technology architecture to provide a unified view of AI governance across the life cycle of artificial intelligence use in the financial services organization, one that delivers greater efficiency, greater effectiveness, resilience, as well as agility. But what's really key here, is to be able to even understand the range of AI failures. There's a lot of things where things can go wrong within organizations. When AI fails, some of the things we can well, AI should. Let me back up here. Grab a sip of water. AI should be really informing decisions and raising points for consideration for the financial services organization rather than being solely relied on to make decisions. It provides context. And some of the challenges of inappropriately used and inappropriately controlled AI brings many risks to the organization. And things we need to consider is that dynamic and changing environment. AI models are not static. In reality, new AI models and use of those models are being added, old ones are retired, and current AI technology models are constantly changing. Compounding this is a constant change in risk, regulations, and the business itself that puts the environment that artificial intelligence is supposed to represent in a constant state of flux. Organizations face significant risk when the environment changes, yet AI and its associated data inputs fail to evolve to represent the current environment. AI models that were accurate last year may not be accurate this year. You have lack of governance and control. The pervasive use of artificial intelligence has also introduced what we now call, and I just referred to as shadow AI, a component of shadow IT, where the line of business bypasses IT and uses technology that has been approved that has not been approved. This increases risk through inappropriate and unauthorized use that exposes the organization. And we also need to understand that AI isn't just about the model processing component, the AI algorithms at the center. The use of AI is more than that processing component. It's an aggregation of components that span a variety of data input, the processing, and the output and reporting functions that integrate and work together. This includes the overall AI modeling and use. Organizations risk being fixated on just the AI model processing alone, while the many supplementary components undergo rapid changes that are not governed. And bad input data means bad decisions. Bad data in means bad data out. The quality of AI depends upon the quality of data and the assumptions that it relies on. Errors in inputs and errors in assumptions lead to inaccurate processing and outputs. So you have errors in input processing and reporting. So artificial intelligence may have errors that produce inaccurate outputs without proper development and validation. Errors can occur throughout the AI lifecycle from design through artificial intelligence use and can be found in any or all of the input processing and reporting components. With specific data, if that data is not annotated correctly, the outcome will always be wrong. These errors may be from the development of the AI model itself and its inputs, processing, and output or reporting, or can be errors introduced through changes and modifications in the model components over time. Errors may also occur from the failure of artificial intelligence to change to shifting business use and changing business environment. You have the issue at that core, that model processing, where there's undiscovered model flaws. It's possible that an artificial intelligence model will initially appear to generate highly predictive output despite having serious flaws in its design and training. In this case, the AI solution or product may gain increased credibility and acceptance throughout the organization until eventually some combination of data exposes the flaw. False positives are part of any predictive system, but can be extremely convincing with AI, leading to greater long term reliance on a flawed model. You have the misuse of models. A significant risk in AI is that it's used incorrectly. An accurate AI model will produce accurate results, but lead the business to error if used for the purposes the AI model was never designed for. Then this is a big risk where somebody says, you know what? I like that model right there. It's pretty close to what I'm trying to do here. Let me take that and just start using that for that without the proper validation and testing that it's actually producing the right output for that specific new use case. Organizations need to ensure that models are accurate and appropriately used. This requires proper governance. Organizations face risk when using and applying existing AI models to new areas without validating AI in that new context. We have the possibility of misrepresentation of reality. The very nature of AI means they are a representation of reality and not reality itself. AI models are simplifications of that reality. And in the process of simplification, may introduce assumptions and errors due to bias, misunderstanding, ignorance, or lack of perception. This risk is particularly a hot topic in generative AI, which may leverage inaccurate data, but also a risk across AI. Other AI areas. Limitations in the model. AI models approximate the real world with a finite set of inputs and variables, in contrast to an infinite set of circumstances and variables that we find in the real world. Risk is introduced when AI is used with inaccurate, misunderstood, missing, or misapplied assumptions that they are built on. You have the pervasive use of models, where organizations bear significant risk as AI can be used at any level without accountability and oversight. Anyone can acquire and or access artificial intelligence that may or may not serve the organization properly. Organizations struggle to identify AI being used not only within traditional business, but also across those third party relationships of your outsourcers, service providers, contractors, and more. The problem grows as existing AI models are modified and adapted to new purposes. The original AI model developer in the organization often does not know how others are adapting and using AI. You have big data and interconnectedness issues. The explosion of inputs and variables from massive amounts of data within the organization has made AI use complex across the input, processing, and reporting components of AI. The interconnectedness of disparate information sets makes artificial intelligence models more complex and challenging to control, which at the end that leads to lack of standardization, inconsistent use of data integrity issues across systems that feed into the models, and data integrity within AI. And then you got inconsistent development and validation. AI models are being acquired, developed, revised, and modified without any defined development and validation process. The role of audit in providing independent assurance on AI integrity and use and fit for purpose is inconsistent and needs to be addressed in organization. So let's wrap this up on this slide and in these my next thoughts here, where artificial intelligence in your financial service organization is rapidly growing in variety and complexity and use. It is quickly moving from tactical focus to a strategic pillar that provides infrastructure and backbone for the financial services organization's strategy and decisions at all levels. Time and evolution of AI left ungoverned bring forth loss and potential disaster. Unfortunately, many financial service organizations often lack governance and architecture for AI risk management and governance. Organizations need to provide a structured approach for AI governance, risk, and compliance that addresses the AI governance lifecycle and architecture to manage artificial intelligence and mitigate the risk it introduces while capitalizing on the significant value AI it has when used properly. So I've gone through a lot here, and I don't want to make everybody scared, but of things. I'm just saying AI is extremely powerful and useful if used correctly and governed correctly. So in the next slide, trust and integrity are absolutely critical for the intersection of what AI as well as data governance. Effective data governance builds a foundation of trust by ensuring data used within AI systems is accurate, reliable, and secure. Trust in data leads to trust in AI outcomes, which is critical for stakeholder confidence. Ensuring consistent data formats and reducing data redundancy to prevent errors in AI predictions. And so the next slide, what all this means, we can sum up in the words of my favorite Premier League coach and philosopher, Ted Lasso. Doing the right thing is never the wrong thing. So how do we take AI and use it properly for the organization, and responsibly? That's absolutely critical. This brings us to areas of cognitive GRC. I've defined 6 generations of GRC technology. GRC 5.0 is cognitive GRC, and we're moving towards that business integrated GRC that cognitive GRC enables, where we leverage artificial intelligence to learn from experience, draw conclusions, identify relationships, solve difficult patterns, understand different languages, creates information perspectives, all things that you can learn in risk spotlights, off Copilot, Office Copilot, Microsoft Copilot course and training course. And how do you leverage this to enhance GRC, risk management capabilities within the financial services organization? So when we look at AI in the next slide, there's two balancing points, two points that and two different perspectives that come into relationship here, and they depend upon each other. We have what I call cognitive GRC, which is the use of artificial intelligence technology to make GRC processes themselves more efficient, effective, resilient, and agile. Things you'll learn at with Risk Spotlight's training. But then you have AI GRC, the governance of the use of artificial intelligence within the financial services organization to ensure the reliable achievement of objectives, address uncertainty and risk, and act with integrity and compliance. On the next slide, good AI, that good cognitive GRC helps enable and use of AI for risk management. It helps enable proactive risk management, enhanced compliance monitoring, efficient use of resources, and informed decision making, hopefully better decision making. Now let's talk about GRC and what I call AI GRC. GRC, found in the official definition of GRC in the OSEG GRC capability model, GRC is a capability that enables an organization to reliably achieve objectives. That's the governance function, setting objectives and performing against those objectives. While addressing uncertainty, that's risk management. ISO 31000 states that risk is the effect of uncertainty on objectives. And throughout this, the ability to act with integrity. Adapting this for AI, on the next slide, I talk about AI GRC. AI GRC, or AI governance, risk management, compliance, is a capability that enables an organization to reliably achieve the objectives in AI. Why are we using AI? We're not just doing it because it's cool. There's a business purpose for it. What are those objectives? While addressing uncertainty in the use of AI and acting with integrity, that responsible use of artificial intelligence. So on the next slide, organizations need to take a top down approach, which includes AI GRC oversight, where there's a well defined AI governance framework to manage artificial intelligence use that brings together the right roles, policies, and inventory. AI GRC lifecycle, an end to end AI management lifecycle to manage and govern AI use from the development and acquisition throughout the use in the environment, including the maintenance and retirement of AI. And then this is supported by the technology architecture. The effective management of AI in today's complex and dynamic business environment requires, technology that enables AI GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. So next slide. We need to understand that core components of the input component, the processing, the reporting, these are the three things that make up our models. We have the input component that delivers the assumptions and data to a model. Remember, garbage in, garbage out. We need good data, which also AI governance also requires strong data governance. We need that good processing component where we transform those inputs into estimates and directions and recommendations, and the reporting that provides the output in business decisions and outputs and information. So now let's go into my AI GRC by design graphic. I do a lot of the OSEG GRC illustrations with the Open Compliance and Ethics Group, and I have a whole AI governance illustration that's on my website that you can go and download. It's also on the OSEG website. This is meant to be printed off as a big poster in your environment. So the next several slides are pieces of this poster, not the whole poster itself. But AI governance starts with the program design. You need to develop a structured AI governance, or what I call AI GRC program, that defines AI governance, AI risk management, and AI compliance processes to ensure responsible AI use that is aligned with the business objectives and regulatory requirements. Who's going to lead this? Is it a chief AI officer? Is it the chief technology officer? What other roles and departments like legal and ethics and other departments are in play? When we design our program, what are the policies for AI acquisition and AI use, validation and testing, keeping an inventory of AI models? All these are absolutely critical. Next slide, we get to the step 2. In step 2, we conduct the inventory. You need to create and maintain an up-to-date inventory of all AI models and technologies being used in your organization, ensuring proper documentation, ownership, and governance across the organization for transparency and control. We want to make sure that these models are designed with a clear purpose and thoroughly documented and aligned with the strategic goals and objectives for what the organization wants to achieve with the use of AI. On the step 3, on the next slide, we have deploy pre-deployment controls. There's post-deployment, but we're talking about pre-deployment controls. These are controls to align and govern the business case to prevent unauthorized access, misuse, or tampering of AI models before deployment, ensuring they adhere to security, compliance, and governance standards. You want to have automated monitoring that allows the organization to quickly identify and address any deviations from expected behavior, and just the control and governance and access to models. Step four is where we have pre-deployment validations. So in this whole process in the pre-deployment controls and the pre-deployment validation, this is where we're testing the models and make sure that they're giving the business proper outcomes that the business can rely upon. So we need to be able to thoroughly validate AI models for accuracy, reliability, security, and compliance before deployment to ensure they meet the organization and regulatory requirements, minimizing risks from flawed models. That then moves into step five, and with that also step six. And so the way the graphic's designed, it goes around in a circle. So we're going to read from right to left instead of left to right. So we deploy the model. And so now we have post-deployment validations and monitoring, where there's continuous monitoring to validate the deployed AI models for their proper performance, compliance, and addressing emerging risks to ensure they operate as intended in an environment that's dynamic and changing continuously. And then we have post-deployment periodic reviews, that assurance, the role of internal audit and other assurance activities to be able to conduct regular reviews to ensure that AI systems remain compliant, effective, and aligned with evolving regulatory requirements, updating models as needed to address changes, not only in the risk environment, but in the financial services business environment and context as well. And then that moves us to step seven, the retirement, where there's processes in place to be able to manage the decommissioning of outdated or unused AI systems, ensuring proper documentation, audit trails, and removal from production environments while retaining records for compliance purposes down the road. So, bringing all this together eh, into the business, we should look towards responsible use of AI. We want to ensure that AI systems comply with evolving laws and regulations, and helps prevent legal issues, financial penalties, and damage to the reputation of the financial services organization. We want to manage the uncertainty and risk when AI can have unintended consequences, including biased decisions or privacy breaches. Effective risk management helps identify and mitigate these risks. We want to have responsible use of AI to meet ethical standards, assuring AI is used fairly and doesn't perpetuate harmful biases. Responsible use of AI should deliver trust and transparency, where artificial intelligence governance practices help the financial services organization demonstrate that the AI systems being used are trustworthy and transparent and essential for customer and stakeholder confidence. We want to provide strategic business alignment, where strong AI governance ensures that AI usage aligns with an organization's broader strategic goals and doesn't deviate into potentially harmful or unproductive areas. Enable agility as the AI landscape is rapidly changing. AI GRC, or what some call AI governance practices, help organizations be ready for potential future regulatory changes. Now, when you're looking at technology to be able to govern and manage AI in your organization, you want to have technology that provides robust AI policies and control automation, conduct risk assessment and compliance monitoring of AI, that control monitoring, helps you document and manage that AI model inventory and keep it current, can help with bias detection and drift, where the AI model no longer fully fulfills its needs because the change in the business and change in the external and internal environments has drifted. Explainability, decision interrogation, transactional recording are all documented. There's performance monitoring of AI, the version control and interoperability as AI is updated, scalability and security, user-friendly interface, and the audit trail and documentation on assurance activities on AI, and proper regulatory integration as well. So, in bringing this, because I think I'm gone a couple minutes over my time that was allotted, but just a few more slides here. Building a business case for AI governance is built around four areas: efficiency, effectiveness, resilience, and agility. The right AI governance solution will save time and money, human capital, and financial capital. It'll increase effectiveness. The right AI governance solution will see fewer things slipping through the cracks and greater management and accountability of artificial intelligence in your organization. It will help with resilience because there's going to be issues. The right AI governance solution will enable the organization to discover and contain AI risks and compliance issues, minimizing exposure. but it also increased agility, where the right AI governance solution will enable the organization to achieve AI objectives in the midst of changing AI obligations, risks, processes, employees, as well as third party usage in the extended enterprise. We're aiming for what I call AI GRC and cognitive GRC. We're more aware of our use of AI in the organization and across the organization. We're aligned from different departments such as IT and legal and compliance and operational risk management functions to work together. We're responsive to changes in the internal and external business environment that impact AI to keep AI current. We're agile to leverage AI, not just today, but tomorrow as we look forward in the business, as we're focused on the road ahead of us. But we also understand there's going to be issues and mishaps, and we're looking and testing and validating AI to contain those, to be more resilient, and we're leveraging technology throughout this whole process to be more efficient in this as well. And so with that, I know that I've gone a few minutes over what Minaj has allocated me here, but I'll turn this back over to Risk Spotlight to see what other thoughts are there, and encourage you to look at their Microsoft Copilot course as well as their other courses and training that they're delivering in this space.
Hey, excellent, Michael. Thank you. Thank you very much. Lot of good ideas. Yes, I've made lots of notes to follow up on from the session. So particularly around the cognitive GRC and AI GRC, because it's very rare that you have a transformative technology which your first line wants to use, and then the risk team has to, make sure that the use of the technology is done in a responsible way. But then that same technology can also help the risk management team to improve the risk management processes and capabilities. So it's like the perfect example of opportunities and risks for the risk team. So with that, let me go to chat and see if there are any questions there. So you can go to the chat window and type your question. But I'll while we wait for the question, let me ask Michael: are you seeing organizations starting to appoint chief AI officers? So like we have IT officer and information security officer, chief AI officer. Is that something needed?
Definitely, yes. Now, the smaller financial services organization, people have to wear multiple hats because we
Mhm.
can't have an officer for everybody. But particularly for the mid to large financial service organization, this is definitely something to consider.
Right, right. And we have seen definitely organizations like Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Lloyds Bank in UK. So they're at least the large banks, have started because it's such a transformative technology. It's good to have a person who then has responsibility and accountability. But in the smaller organization or small medium organization, where would you recommend if you were to give the recommendation that who should, is it the chief risk officer who should take responsibility for AI implementation? Should it be IT? Should it be somewhere else?
I don't think there's a perfect answer for that.
Hmm.
I sort of like how one bank has like more of the chief operating officer for digital innovation to be able to have somebody in that area lead that. That's a very
Okay.
practical and balanced point. I mean, obviously, risk has a significant role in managing, monitoring the risks to this. So the governance of AI could be really an operational risk function, but when I look at a chief AI officer, it's not just looking at the risks; it's looking at what are the business opportunities to be able to deploy AI and things too. So risk has a key role, but I wouldn't think like a chief AI officer is going to report into a risk function because a lot of it's going to be the operations of the financial services organization. How do we leverage AI? Risk has a significant role in it, but it might be not have the right perspective in how do we innovate and transform our internal processes by leveraging AI too. So there's a balance there. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. And I see the first question has come on the chat. So the question is, risk professionals and auditors must assess AI systems, but if they use AI themselves as well, can they start using it before it is under formal governance? So it's like the order in which should the risk and audit team start using AI first, or the first line start using AI first?
It's a chicken and egg. Again, I don't think there's a perfect answer for that because we got to get our feet wet somewhere.
Yeah.
We need good governance for it, no matter where it is. I think there's this with all the risk and regulatory impact of financial services. I think that there's definitely a strong use case for risk and compliance teams to be some of the first users for AI.
Mhm. Yeah. And at least we've seen in organizations we've been providing AI mentoring to that the first decision is to say, okay, that which generative AI. So I'm focusing then on generative AI here because I know AI is much bigger than just the generative AI tool. So at least majority of the organizations are making the decision that okay, we will use Microsoft Copilot rather than ChatGPT or Claude or whatever other tools are. That Microsoft Copilot seems to be winning because most financial services firm already have a relationship with Microsoft, so they're already a vendor. They've passed all the vendor
Yep.
due diligence, while
And
OpenAI is still a
it's
risky vendor.
integrated into the Office suite and everything else too.
Yeah, yeah. So at least, so that sort of is the first decision majority of the organizations make, and then they centralize the issue. So there are very few organizations. I only know two organizations who've gone and given Copilot to like every of the 25,000 employees in their organization, but that is rare. So majority of the organizations. Each department has to go and make a business case to some central committee or some central team, which then issues the permission whether you can start using Microsoft Copilot. And that's where the risk is, and that's where it depends on what the business case, if the internal audit is going to that central committee to get permission, or is the first line team going to get permission. But at least that decision that, okay, we will use Microsoft Copilot as our preferred generative AI tool, then it's just matter of rolling it out and then having some sort of governance process and approval process around that, because it is expensive. It's like $30 per user per month. So you cannot just go and give Microsoft Copilot to every employee. So that's why there are those checks and balances to make sure that there is enough business justification before a team gets access to Microsoft Copilot. So there was one more comment here about although AI can speed things up, it still hallucinates a lot, and automation bias can make things worse. While we can put all sorts of policies and controls in place, how do we prevent automation bias? So it's around, yeah, hallucination and then, the automation bias. Is there any recommendation on how that can be minimized?
I think through proper subject matter expert review and things too. I mean, and just looking at the automation, like make sure that's correct and that it applies to the organization. I mean, to me, AI extends subject matter expertise, doesn't replace it. And so,
Mm,
no matter what, we need to make sure that we have subject matter expert review that understands what automation bias can actually be impacted, uh, and make sure that that automation makes sense for the organization and doesn't need to be adapted.
yeah. And also, yeah, in our experience, I think yeah, fully automating any process with AI today is super risky, so that's definitely not recommended. You definitely need a human in the loop because AI can only get you like maybe 60, 70, 80% where you want to be. It'll never take you to 100%. So you always need a subject matter expert to take the output of AI, double check that it's not hallucinating, is correct before that output is actually used for any critical business decision. So I think the human in the loop, keeping somebody where AI is enabling a human to do their job, that is a better strategy today than 100% automating a process completely with AI and then blindly trusting whatever AI is giving you. That definitely AI is not at that level of maturity where you can fully rely on an automated AI process. Then there's another question between Copilot and ChatGPT. What is the risk using both? Which one is better in terms of generative AI? Any views there, Michael?
Um, I, I think it gets down to however you standardize it and what the information you're putting into that, and protecting all that information as well.
Yeah.
I think Manoj, I think you've done a little more depth of study in some of those areas.
Yeah, so at the moment, yeah, our recommendation, because OpenAI, ChatGPT is provided by OpenAI, and OpenAI as a vendor is super risky at the moment. That are they a non-profit, are they a for-profit? They're going to go through so much organizational transformation that if somebody was to do a vendor due diligence on OpenAI, they just wouldn't cross the threshold. It's just super risky vendor to deal with, which then makes the decision, sort of more towards Copilot. That even though quality wise, so both Copilot is also using ChatGPT in the background because that's where Microsoft has invested 12 or 13 billion. So you are getting to access ChatGPT model when you're using Copilot, but of course, yeah, Microsoft has added a level of data privacy and security on top of that. So that's why, yeah, you may not see the same quality output. You may not get the latest model because ChatGPT, OpenAI is a little ahead in terms of the model Microsoft is providing. So from a quality perspective, ChatGPT is better. But when you combine the riskiness of dealing with an OpenAI as a vendor, then right now the organizations, because we financial services organizations are generally risk averse, Copilot seems to be winning that battle at the moment. And then there's another question around AI business case for AI. A business case for AI was mentioned. What elements are relevant? Example: productivity increase, lack of talent. So I can maybe start here, Michael, then you can add. So sort of the business case where we have worked with the organizations is there are two. So either something which is taking a very long time, so like risk reporting, making risk reporting easier. So if it takes the team 400 hours to prepare the risk report every quarter for the risk committee, can we use AI and do that in 100 hours? So that would be an example of a use case or a benefit you would want to extract. So either it has to reduce the amount of time and resource that activity is taking, or it has to improve the quality, that it may take the same amount of time, but you are able to deliver better quality outcomes in that same period of time. So those are sort of the two aspects to look at from a business case perspective. Simon, Michael, anything to add in
No,
terms of what?
I think that's extremely appropriate. When you look at AI governance on the AI GRC side of things, if you can look at and build a business case for technology on efficiency. What's this going to cost me if I try to do this manually to be able to document and inventory our AI systems and validate and test, versus if we leverage technology to streamline this. So there's efficiency, which is typical ROI, but then effectiveness. How can we deploy technologies and processes to make AI governance more accurate, complete, thorough, less things slipping through cracks, the ability to have more resilience, to be able to find AI issues and contain them when they're still small and address them before they become something big for the organization, but also keeping up with all the change in the business.
Yeah, and also you want to make sure it's done in phases, right? So you're not going and like saying, okay, let's use Copilot for everything. You want to go use case by use case because it cannot solve all the use cases. So in the organizations, when we start working with Copilot, the top three use cases are improving the quality of control documentation, where Copilot can help improve the quality of all the controls that are documented in the GRC system or control library. Reducing the risk reporting, that's another use case in terms of reducing the amount of time it takes to prepare risk reports. And then the third one is around the policy management, because we are writing and updating policies, mapping policies to controls and risk. So you want to look at each use cases and then apply AI to those use cases to see if you can get those benefits, because there are 100 plus use cases and there are different levels of benefits you can get on those use cases. So then the next one we have is, how do we ensure GRC tools with AI integrated do not pose any risk to the business if they are not using Copilot? Okay, so if an organization, let's say, decides to use Copilot, but the GRC vendor decides to use Claude or Llama or some other model in the backend, Michael, could that be an issue?
Oh, definitely. I mean, with anything, you need the proper validation and testing. And so, if you're using GRC tools that have AI in them,
Mhm.
you need to understand how those AI models and those tools were developed and tested, and the assurance and on that, and how they work in your environment. So, not only do the vendors need to provide you assurance on how they've tested it, but then as you put your data into it and things like that, to make sure that there's proper validation as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean that could be a risk, and that's why yeah, we need to start asking the vendors if they are starting to integrate any of these models and which ones. And if your organization then has a preference that okay, we don't like Llama or we don't like Mistral model, so that the vendors know that if they integrate those models into the GRC tool, you may stop using your tool going forward. So there has to be, these are acceptable models, these are not acceptable models, where you clearly communicate to those vendors, because all the vendors, it's still very early stages, right? They're going through those decisions themselves. So as an organization, if you can provide that guidance saying, okay, if you stick with these 2 or 3 models, we'll continue to use your GRC solution. But if you deviate, then the onus will be on the vendor to demonstrate that, why whatever model they have selected is still fit for purpose for the organization. And then another one is any material changes needed to 3 lines of defense model for AI GRC adoption.
Oh, of course. I mean, because the first line is going to be using this, and they need to be involved. The second line, risk and compliance functions, need to govern and manage risks and controls. But there's also a huge training and update for the audit and assurance roles, as they're responsible for providing the assurance in this area.
Hmm. Yeah. But in terms of structure, because I think it should make a little bit more efficient. So one thing we see this year is the use of agentic AI, where Microsoft Copilot has a software called Copilot Studio, where you can create automated agents. Because one of the challenges we've had in risk management for 15, 20 years is that the first line risk owners, control owners, they are business people, and then they don't like doing risk management things like updating the controls, assessing the control, testing the control. So it has always been a challenge to get a buy-in from them in terms of doing the right things or following the operational risk management process. And that's where I see that by using AI agents, if that can reduce the burden from the first line, where if AI can do a lot of that grunt work, the administrative, the maintenance type work, so that the first line risk owners, control owners, they can focus more on risk management. And if their documentation burden, their monitoring burden can be reduced by AI, then AI can be a big bonus, for the first line, and by that also a big bonus for second and third line, because the quality of documentation, the quality of monitoring can significantly increase. So I see that one way in which the 3 model will change is that in your first line, you will have human risk and control owners supported by AI agents. That will be a very efficient combination, but it's still early days. So we'll see if more organizations start to adopt that. But that's where the first line of defense and the first line will be a combination of human and AI agents may start to emerge. Oh, okay. So I have then, yeah, all the questions, at least on the chat, have been covered, and we come to the top of the hour, Michael. So thank you very much. Very interesting topic, and I know, yeah, it's a start of a dialogue. There is, yeah, so much more we need to cover. So we'll coordinate and see if we can drill down into some of these aspects in another follow-up webinar going forward. But thank you very much, everybody, for coming for this session. You will get these slides in the recording of the session. And thank you, Michael. Yeah, have a great day, everybody.